Mardu friends. Similar to Mardu Pyromancers in a lot of ways. Instead of leaning into Blood Moon, we have a higher than average land count. We've got 4 copies of Shambling Vent. We have 4 copies of Nahiri with Emrakul as a combo kill. It's a pretty reasonable collection of cards. I think my only comment at a glance before we start is I don't understand why people play 3 copies of Leylines in their sideboard. Like, just register 4 of them. If you think this card is worth having in your sideboard and you want to have it in your opener, play 4. This is an application called Magic: The Gathering Online. It is a little over 15 years old. It is the only digital Magic application that has almost all of Magic's cards, and it doesn't have everything, but it has most of them. So you can play older formats like this format that we're playing right now is called Modern, and it consists of Magic cards from the last 15 or 16 years or so. MTGO, Magic: The Gathering Online, or MODO for you old timers out there, Magic Online with Digital Objects. Oh yeah, nothing like a good bridge, chat. Oh yeah, just a good clean riffle. Time to spaghetti monster some folks. Lieutenant Khan, thank you for the 7-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Is there any chance I go to Cincy in January? Do you mean Columbus? And no, I don't think so. Planning to drive across the planning to drive across the Midwest in January is generally a recipe for snow. And I really don't like team tournaments. Just not a fan. They kind of wore off their wonder. Why do you think Nahiri has disappeared from Modern? Because she's a 4-mana card in a format where you often die before you put a 4th land into play. Yeah, RNG stone. Yeah, magic. Yeah, modern. I mean, at least I get to flash this back on 2, right? As someone who has driven from Columbus to Bloomington, Illinois, which for those who are not familiar, that's a 6-hour drive at 70 miles per hour. You have to traverse the entire state of Indiana, basically, to make that drive. And Indiana doesn't plow while it's snowing. They plow after the snow finishes. It is miserable and something I would never want to do again. To be fair, they're like almost out of resources here. These Lingering Souls might give us time to like find a removal spell. Oh, they have a Delve threat too. Yeah, Faithless Looting and Ancient Stirrings are cards that just shouldn't be modern legal. Sometimes they just wait until after it melts. Yep. Oh, good. Painful Truths. That card's good. There aren't 4 Path to Exiles in this deck. All right, chat. I'm gonna take the blame on this one. I need to set it. I've been streaming so much because Standard's so sweet that I need to go through these decks in the queue and like fix these really easy mistakes, like 4 Path to Exiles and 4 Leylines. That's solidly on me. There should definitely be just like 4 of the best removal spell in Modern in our deck. Got this Painful Truth, got the Sorin. No, I don't think that's true, Shaka. Modern's basically, what Modern is right now is basically what it's always been. The only thing that's different is that Standard's sweet. Like, no joke. Like, Modern was just the best Magic had to offer for a while because Standard was really rancid. But, like, now that, like, eyes have been open to, like, this other format that's good where these things don't happen, people are just like, huh, I don't have to get got. And don't get me wrong, like, Modern has a bunch of really good games of Magic. You just, like, have to take your lumps when you're playing them to, like, get to those good games. Whereas in Standard, you just don't get Trons. You don't get Hollowed Ones. You don't get Dredged. My first time driving for a PTQ was my first winter after moving from Miami to NYC. Hit an ice pass, fishtail, and barely recovered before crashing into a snowbank. I made a lot of questionable decisions. Me too. Mine were after college, too. I think I actually want this Inquisition because the Inquisition should be able to take an anti-Leyline card out of their hand. People are realizing they're in an abusive relationship, which honestly, I think once people really realize that, that's why I think like people are talking about like bringing modern to Arena. I honestly think a new non-rotating format will quickly become as popular or more popular than Modern, because once you have a format where your cards don't rotate and there isn't Tron, people will be much happier. I don't even care where that format starts. I think just in general, people like non-rotating Magic formats so they can fixate on decks that they... Oh, no. I just auto-passed through my turn without playing my land because I was talking. Whatever. But it's fine. We have Leyline of the Void. It's going to win the game. Arena starts at Ixalan right now, but it has Kaladesh programs, so it'll be interesting to see where they start. They could definitely, they're probably not announcing the new format until this next fall, so they have time to backcode a little bit. They have a Lightning Bolt in their hand that we're aware of, so we don't want to fire up our Shambling Vent. Honestly, I think I wouldn't mind Ixalan forward. Well, I mean, like, we won't replace formats. Like, Modern will still be a format that people play. It's just the only people left playing Modern will, like when a new format gets introduced, I think Modern will just end up being, you know, just like Dredge players versus Tron players versus Storm players. Just like all the degenerates just like duking it out. The problem with Tron, and there's nothing, I would like to prefix what I'm about to say with, there's nothing wrong with enjoying playing Tron. People that are going to try and make you feel bad about enjoying Tron, those people are idiots and you should ignore them. You should play Magic in the way you enjoy playing Magic. But the reason why so many people dislike Tron and there's so much Tron hate is because the quality of gameplay that Tron generates is rancid. Whether Tron is winning or losing, it's a bad game of Magic. It's a deck that's got a bunch of very heavily lopsided matchups in one direction or the other, and it's just not an enjoyable gameplay experience regardless of the outcome of the match most of the time. Are people still playing extended? Comparing what Modern will become to what Extended is now is nonsense, because one, nobody really liked Extended because it was a rotating format, and two, there will still be some Modern Grand Prix and some Opens. In fact, I would be very surprised if when a new non-rotating format gets announced, if like SCG's team tournaments don't become standard new format Modern. Yeah, WotC completely retired Extended because nobody loved it. Yeah, correct. It's a better comparison to what Legacy is now. And even that's not fully true because Legacy now is hamstringed by the reserve list. Legacy would be more popular if the reserve list didn't exist. I don't like to claim ownerships of deck, Mr. Manad. I helped tune that deck, but is this, are we Assassin's Trophying my thing? Deal. I would love a 4th land. I feel like the issue with standard isn't that it is good, but WotC fails to maintain a good standard. So here's the thing. You will be in my experience, you will be a much happier person if you stop looking at standard and going, I'm investing in standard. You need to look at playing Magic like you look at, I don't know, any other form of entertainment. You don't say to yourself, I'm not going to go see this movie because after I'm done, my $10 won't be invested. The movie will be over. Like that doesn't make sense, right? Like you're paying for entertainment. That's how you should approach standard, and honestly, Magic in general, I think. I know my mindset, at least personally, I've become much happier looking at Magic as an entertainment perspective as rather than I need to get value. All right, so we're gonna play Nahiri and plus her here. She's gonna be able to kill their Leyline here in a hot second. They have another trophy. Brutal. I wanted to plus Nahiri before down-ticking her there, so that way she didn't die to another lightning bolt out of their hand. But the fact that they had another trophy means now that their Leyline's still in play, which is a little bit annoying. To be fair, I would assume the opponent thought we were Mardu Pyromancer. Like, we look like Mardu Pyromancer for the most part, right? Like, Mardu Pyromancer even plays some copies of Nahiri on occasion. I think I just Bolt Helix this. Cons was a sweet set. This, honestly, if you haven't played Standard since Cons, I would recommend checking out this current Standard format. Cons was the last time I personally enjoyed Standard, and I honestly think this format might be even better than that format was. This is the first format that the play design team really got their hands on. Also, for those of you out there who can't change your mindset and you can't stop looking at Magic from an investment perspective, picking up cards in this current standard format actually is pretty okay in terms of an investment, because there's a very good chance that a lot of the cards in this current standard format will be very playable in whatever the new non-rotating format is. So when they do announce a non-rotating format, there's a good chance that all these cards that are playable in standard right now will be powerful enough to see play in the new format. Correct, yeah. You could also spend money in a way where you prioritize playing decks that have staples in the set that's not rotating for 2 years also as well. God bless you, Shambles. I love Creature Lands, chat. I really hope that wherever their non-rotating format ends up at, we end up getting Creature Lands into it eventually, because I'm a big fan of Creature Lands. Think they'll make no, I don't think they'll make Frontier a thing. I'm pretty confident that wherever their new format starts, it's not going to involve fetch lands, because fetch lands suck. They're like, fetch lands are like loading screens on coverage. I think there's a lot of good spots they could start. They could start the new format at. Yeah, I don't think they want another fetch shock format. I'm gonna bolt upstairs here, just like try and draw more removal. Maybe I'm supposed to double bolt this. I don't know. If I play this, I am 1 white source away from attacking with 2 Shambling Vents here, which is nice. Sure, you could definitely make bans in Modern to make the format more interactive, but as somebody who has championed the idea that we could do that for a long time, that's never going to happen. And if you sit there expecting Modern to get bans to become more fair, you're just going to be frustrated and disappointed. I didn't play the Leyline because Nahiri can let me loot it away later. Yeah, shock land format is great. I think that sounds like a great format. My article on Cool Stuff Inc. on Wednesday will be dissecting the results of those 2 tournaments. You'll be able to find that on coolstuffinc.com. Like, this blood gas just, like, really doesn't matter because I've got double Wall of Omens in play. I looted it with Nahiri. That's like Liliana, like, basically doesn't have text. No, I don't know if that really makes sense, fighting Walloon. Jim and I are both like old timers here on Twitch. There's a very good chance we both have a lot of the same audiences. They're not attacking with the Swamp Walk because they'll die to my Shambling Vents. It gets cards out of my hand too, though, and the cards in my hand are turning into other useful cards with Nahiri. Why would Teferi see a ban in Standard? I was muted intentionally. That's why there's a mute icon there, so you can know when I'm muted. I think the is this card going to get banned or do we need to ban this? That culture is from just like, you know, the whole slew of rancid standards we've had recently, right? Like, we've had a lot of bad standard formats and people are like used to anytime something's a little bit good, they're just like, what if we ban it? I've got a dirty little secret for you. The only thing Magic players enjoy more than playing Magic is complaining about Magic. So if Teferi was banned, it'd be some other thing that would be complained about. So just like, you know, whatever. You're not wrong, Klets. You're not wrong. Listen, anybody who thinks Rampaging Ferocidon's gonna get unbanned isn't familiar with my Lady Stoneforge Mystic and how Modern is done. Actually likes playing the game. You know, if I'm being honest, I don't really care if people play Magic. I just care if people like watching Magic played, because my job doesn't matter if people actually play. I just need a couple people to play with here on stream. I just need people who want to watch. Thanks for the extra biddy, Brian. So, as long as the kink of watching Magic stays popular, hopefully I'll be okay here. Alright, so remember, Flamewake Phoenix has an intervening if clause, so if I kill this Hallowed One in response to the trigger, they won't be able to bring it back into play. So, Tassiger, Collective Brutality. Goodbye, Lingering Souls. You are too pure for this world. My hand is great, opponent. Fight me. Yeah, it got better. At least 2 of our pieces of flood attack. Do you think Rampaging Frostodon is so oppressive in Standard should be compared to Stoneforge Mystic in Modern? I'm gonna time you out for that comment because it implies that you think Stoneforge Mystic would be oppressive in Modern. Enjoy your break. I really hope we get Maze's End, because Maze's End, you know, you time people out for your opinions. I'm going to time you out for that because it implies that you didn't read the stream rules before you typed in my chat, which quite literally dictate you will in fact be timed out for things like that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and attack for 2 here. I love when people are always like, man, you time people out for that? I'm like, well, that rules thing that they click past when they entered the stream says that they were going to get timed out for that. So, yeah, I'm a man of my word. I am many things, chat, but I am not a liar. Many, many things, but liar not on the list. Look at that, we're up to 1,200 people. Thanks everyone for hanging out today. So dropping in, enjoying some Modern. We are going to be moving to doing more standard content on my channel, but I'm not going to be dropping Modern altogether. I think we're going to be moving to doing Modern 2 days a week and Standard 3 days a week. Should be a great time. You're not wrong. Did you know on the merchandise section on my website, we're going to be fleshing this out a little bit more soon, but for now, we have this very wonderful message deleted playmat that you can get from my sponsor, Inked Gaming. It's got the little Juster in there, so if you want to represent your Hoaglandia pride with a playmat, you can pick that one up. For the first time in my life, I read the TOS because of the Discord thing. It was so boring, I don't want to read more rules, so take my money instead. All right, chat, I have like 5 minutes. If you want to time out, feel free to tell me that Stoneforge Mystic is oppressive. God bless. All right, Dad Chad here closes the game out pretty quickly. He's a 6/6. So, trophy. Poor Dad Chad. His butt's so good looking it's been added to a trophy case. Among other things, I agree. A Braid and K Command are great things that like could mean Stoneforge Mystic should come back out to play. Chat would be much better format if the Banhammer could be cheated out by paying 1 white. I really wish I could upvote comments because like comments like that would just get a pile of them. So do I play this Nahiri as a gain 6? Or do I wait and exile the Tassiger? I think I'm supposed to wait and exile the Tassiger here. I don't, so, and that's the other thing. We had someone in here the other day that was talking about Stoneforge Mystic and Burn. Anyone who thinks Stoneforge Mystic is good against Burn hasn't spent much time playing Burn. There's like the Searing Bloods and Searing Blazes and Smashes and Destructive Revelries, just like, they... Really? Really? Okay. Okay. Man, that feels bad. I don't have another Damnation in my deck either, right? Just like one sweeper. So I have to give them the Bolt and hope to draw a Path to Exile here, which I also don't have 4 of in my deck. Just gonna go ahead and move along. It's fine. There's a, I mean, like, they saw a bunch of Nahiris out of us. There's not, like, they could be ghosting, but they could also just, like, value their Tasigur more than other things, especially when they have the mana to activate it and, like, generate card advantage against our control deck. Like, could just be good. Settle the Wreckage is reasonable. I don't know. I think it's worse than just, like, playing a bunch of actual sweepers, though. Like, off the bat, this deck list, I want a 4th Path to Exile. I want a 2nd Damnation. I want a 4th Leyline of the Void. I think the Fulminator Mage in the sideboard of this deck are kind of some nonsense. Like, this deck's never beating Tron or Valakut, so, like, why are there Fulminators in the deck? I feel like putting Fulminator Mage in the sideboard of a deck like this kind of shows a little bit of a misunderstanding of giving up matches that you're not winning anyways in Modern. Man. Yeep. Jared H, thank you very much for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Yeah, we actually did bump up over 3,200 points for like half a day. So before the other sub gifts fell off. So I actually have two emotes sitting unused. So I need to figure out what we want to do with those slots. Yeah, we should be getting back to Rainbow Lich tomorrow, which will be good. I'm glad we waited because now we can just grab Ollie's list from the classic that he won. You think Modern having both Thoughtseize and Inquisition is healthy for the format? I think these discard spells are obnoxious, and one of the things that's annoying about Modern, but I think there's so many obnoxious things in Modern that these don't even make the top 10 list of things that are obnoxious about the format. I think the only reason these discard spells are close to okay is because the things they help you beat are less okay than they are. We do. In fact, hey, Macry Blackhand, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed this month with that. Maze's End was in standard with Scapeshift. All I'm going to say is, if Maze's End is in standard with Scapeshift when the next set releases, I'm sure I'm going to be losing lots of matches on Magic Arena trying to make that work for you all. Because that sounds like something that lots of people will want to see, and I'm going to be happy to enable it, because that just sounds like a good time. I have no idea, McCarver. I think there's a lot of good spots they could start a new non-rotating format at. What are my top 3 most obnoxious cards in Modern? Urza's Tower, Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant. Next question. That is called Tron. Look at you, wife. Picked up some of that magic through osmosis. What's your top 6? Ancient Stirrings and Faithless Looting. I think those cards should not be legal. I think those cards should be banned for the same reason Ponder and Preordain are banned, and I think Ponder and Preordain are good bans. Yeah, Marty. In fact, I think I have JAC in the queue already, and I'm going to try Bound and Determined in it when it gets to the top of the queue. I don't actually know, McCarver. That's something I would have to sit down and do some research on to figure out, like, where I would want it to start. This Stubby D is, like, really annoying. I think that's the take, because, like, I have a bunch of non-creature spells that they're going to be able to force spike. Yeah, I have a Discord for subscribers. Some subs and Patreons can pop in here. Marty with the sub gifteroonies. Thank you for the generosity. Get that added. Matt Dude, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. Thanks for shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month. Kason Drith, thank you for the brand new tier 1 sub. Welcome, folks. Hope everyone had a good weekend, having a great start to your week. Thanks for hanging out today. It's not a bad pickup. It does a lot of blocking in a matchup like this, assuming they don't hit a Temur Battle Rage. For those that might not be familiar with Modern, the opponent's deck from these cards that we've seen so far implies that they're playing Grixis Shadow, which is a tempo deck with discard spells and counter spells that plays large creatures like Gurmag Angler and then damages their health total so they can play the card Death Shadow for 1 mana. There's this really, and I guess it's not even a weird assumption that, like, Stoneforge Mystic has to be too good because it's banned in Modern, and, like, working off the basis that, like, every card that's on the Modern ban list is there for a reason, I guess makes sense from a logical standpoint, but from a what actually happens in Magic standpoint, it's just not true. So, like, for people that aren't familiar with cards on the Modern ban list, cards that have been banned in Modern: Ancestral Visions, Valakut, Wild Nacatl, Bitter Blossom, and, like, even just of those 4, Valakut's the only one that's close to good. Bloodbraid Elf, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Sword of the Meek. Like, there are tons of cards that have previously been banned in Modern that when they were unbanned went into only fringe decks that see very little play. Sure, but Modern's, I agree that Jace is better in slower formats, but Modern's never been a format that's about being slow. Never once. Like, even when Modern was at its slowest, it was still a format where, like, Bloodbraid Elves and Lightning Bolts were everywhere. I think I'm actually just going to Painful Truth for 2 here. I don't think I'd even want to do this for 3 in general, and I definitely don't want to Shock to do it when I have the fast land. To be fair, Golgari Grave Troll was legal for a long time before it was rebanned. Golgari Grave Troll wasn't too good. Cathartic Reunion, Insolent Neonate, Prized Amalgam, those cards made Golgari Grave Troll too good. So again, power level of all cards in general is contextual to the format of surrounding cards around them. So Grave Troll was fine. the new tools they printed to make it good inside of Standard that then made their way into Modern, those made it not fine. Is there a decent Angels Modern deck? There are not. So Modern's a format that's really fast and brutal, and Angel style cards tend to be too slow and clunky for how fast and brutal Modern is. WotC is unlikely to ban Stirrings. I think if you asked me to write a list of cards that were likely to be banned, Ancient Stirrings would be towards the top. That being said, I don't think WotC will ever make changes to Modern. I think they're pretty happy with the format being what it is. Thoughtseize is a good draw here. It means I can clear the Snapcaster Mage out, so I can play Nahiri and exile the Skirmag Angler. I'm not doing that because I know they have a Snapcaster Mage and there's a Stubborn Denial in their discard pile. But you say that Modern is faster or slower than Legacy. So the fastest decks in Modern are slower than the fastest decks in Legacy, but I think the average deck in Modern is faster than the average deck in Legacy, if that makes sense. So like from a pure linear standpoint, the most blistering fast decks in Legacy are faster than the most blistering fast decks in Modern, but the average deck that you're playing against in Modern is much faster than the average deck in Legacy. The plethora of powerful cantrips in Legacy and Force of Will existing as a card tends to make the format a little bit slower on average than Modern is. They just like have another Stubborn Denial here. And I guess this like isn't the worst here if they have another fat stub, because I can like play another Nahiri next turn. What you thought was the best Bloodbraid Elf deck that's not Jund or Panza. I mean, Red-Green Valakut Titan plays Bloodbraid Elf usually. That deck's very boring and linear, but it's a very good deck. Yeah, I agree. They usually have 4 stubs. Agree with that assessment. Welcome to Thunderdome, chat. Enjoy your stay. And again, like, this game talking about, like, how brutal and efficient Modern is, this game was a great example of how we lost because we have a bunch of cards that are clunky and slow, and my opponent's cards were really efficient. Like, this and Snapcaster Mage were the only cards this game that my opponent played that cost more than 1 mana. Yeah, generally speaking, 4 mana cards need to win the game on the spot to be good enough in Modern. A cantrip refers to a card that replaces itself. So Opt, for instance, if you're familiar with Standard, would be considered a cantrip because it's a card that draws another card. Discovery would be another good example of a cantrip, because it is a card that draws a card afterwards. I actually didn't know that cantrip referred to was an old D&D reference. That's a good piece of history to know. This Painful Truth is probably worse than this Gideon Jura. I don't know. 5 mana spells suck, but like losing life in this matchup also feels bad. Does any competitive deck have to be able to nut draw a turn 3 win? Not strictly. So a good example of a decks that are generally competitive in Modern but don't actually win the game on turn 3 is something like Blue-White controls a reasonably competitive deck, but that card leans into the card Terminus, which is just an absurdly powerful Magic card, right? Like, Terminus doesn't literally win the game on turn 3, but it effectively wins the game when you flip it off early, right? Same thing with Tron. Turn 3 Karn doesn't literally win the game. If your opponent's dumb, they're allowed to continue playing, but the game is effectively over. Dougal, thank you for the 3-month resub. Welcome back, and thanks for the continued support. Thanks for keeping me employed here again with your Bezdo bucks this month. I don't think Jun's very good, to be fair. Jun's just like, okay. Just okay. The classic Emrakul Lingering Souls combo. So, like, the question I have to ask myself when I keep a hand like this is are these 6 cards better than the average 6-card hand out of my deck? I think so. I think both Liliana and Nahiri are very good here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. Yeah, we can discard the Emrakul to something like this. That is true. But we want to make sure we either do that before we play the Lingering Souls or after we flash it back so we don't shuffle this back in. I think Amulet Titan's a very reasonable deck. We've played a bunch with Amulet Titan on stream before. I think Amulet Titan is one of the decks that's a little bit harder to play in Modern. There's a lot of really complicated sequencing decisions that tend to go into it. I think it's the best Arclight Phoenix deck in Standard. The Izzet Crackling Drake deck did very well this weekend. Yeah, the Rainbow Lich deck is on my website, and I believe it's also, we played it once before. It should also be at the top of my queue, so we'll probably be starting with it tomorrow morning. Would you rate Titan as harder than Storm? Yeah, Storm is actually pretty easy to play. There are a lot of Storm hands where you just like get to a spot that's just like deterministic, you're dead very easily and very quickly. Hivemind and Amulet seems cute. I don't know that I'd be in for that. There are a lot of decision trees that go into learning Amulet Titan, and if you want to pick that deck up and learn it a little bit, definitely be sure to check out my YouTube videos that are on my website, jeffhoagland.com/decklists, or just go to jeffhoagland.com and click Modern Decks at the top. You'll be able to find my preferred Amulet Titan list, and then see me playing lots of matches with lots of different iterations of it. This is one of the dangers of having a bunch of 3 and 4 mana spells in your deck. You need a lot of lands to play. So one of the things that I feel like people underestimate is that like putting more expensive cards in your deck like this actually makes your deck higher variance, because it means you need to hit a better mix of land and spells consistently to actually play Magic. There should be a Bojuka Bog in the main deck on my site. Look, no numbers. Main deck Bog is very good. I agree. Boop. You have Disdainful Stroke in their hand that we know about here still. If they don't put any pressure in play, because they're sitting on this Nihil Spellbomb, I might wait till I get to 5 mana to play this Lingering Souls, because if you play Lingering Souls with 5 mana, you're able to flash it back before they can exile your graveyard with Nihil Spellbomb the way priority works. I really haven't been a fan of either of the Arclight Phoenix, any of the Arclight Phoenix decks we've played in Modern so far. I know Diva's been working on an Izzet one, so I'd probably defer to her expertise with what's ideal, but I haven't played any of them and really had like that wow feel, like this is really good. I mean, like, if we're struggling to hit land drops, I think the solution is play more lands or play a lower curve, or like play Faithless Looting rather than play Simian Spirit Guide. Honestly, it's probably just like nonsense that this deck isn't playing copies of Faithless Looting. Like you have Mardu colors, you have Lingering Souls, like play Faithless Looting. Getting luckier is always the best option. If you have to choose between being lucky and being good, definitely choose being lucky. Does the sub renew on its own? I don't know, Johan. There's a setting that you can set your sub up to renew on its own. If you look in your settings, I believe if you're paying for a sub and it's not a Prime sub, the default is it renews automatically, but I don't know that for sure. I'm pretty sure every time I've subbed to somebody, it renews automatically. Yeah, both standard and modern. Fair warning, I am taking more standard decks than modern decks right now. Modern's been a little bit rough lately, and standard's just been a little bit more popular. I think Nahiri's actually pretty good in the Mardu shell in general. I don't know if you necessarily want to lean into it with this whole Emrakul thing too, but I feel like 1 to 2 Nahiris and even just a typical Mardu Pyromancer deck is a very reasonable inclusion. I like that Nahiri is able to exile not only large creatures, which these decks sometimes have a problem killing, but she's also able to take things like, she takes like Rest in Peace and Leyline of the Void off the table. 6 months, do I get to leave my toothbrushes? Yeah, I actually have a drawer in the bathroom for all the subs, Confusion Bliss. Just feel free to throw it in there. You might want to put it in like a Ziploc bag or something though, so it doesn't like mix in with the other toothbrushes. Now Keith. Hey, Bison, thank you very much for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome. Chain Whirler. This is standard. I'm supposed to be safe from that card here. Yeah, she's definitely an okay card. Like I said, I think maybe as many 4-drops as this deck has is probably too many, but I think a non-zero number of her is probably fine in a more trim Mardu shell. When am I thinking about playing at Milwaukee? Blue-Black Pirates is currently my favorite thing, but we played Blue-Black Artifacts deck the other night that seemed really sweet, so I'm going to play that some more. Is a Snap Anger? Deal, you're dead. My collection can't keep up with the decks you're playing on Arena. There's so many sweet decks in the standard format. There's just so much awesome stuff going on. Yeah, it literally feels like playing Modern without ever having to get dredged or troned. It's so weird. It's wonderful. It's nice in a way. Or Bogles, or Grishel branded, or Cheerios. You have just like any number of the other things. What's Pirates have a hard time with? I actually think Pirates struggles a bit against the white mid-range deck. So like all the Angels decks that did well at New Jersey are probably bad news for it. I need to play it more to confirm that feeling, but I'm pretty sure the Angel matchups are not good for Pirates. Hey, fan 11 fan 11, thank you very much for the brand new tier 1 sub there. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed with that this month. It's like Modern without getting modern. You might need to adjust. Can you put this towards standard L's? Of course, Waffle Soup. Thank you for the bits. I appreciate that. As always, a reminder for anybody, for every 100 bits you cheer or $1 you donate, you're always welcome to poke into the deck queue and bump up a deck in there. The people that support my content here kind of dictate what we play and when we play it. How many office chairs do you go through till you found the right one or you still have fun? This chair is okay. I spent a lot of money on this chair and it's reasonable. I don't know. I think just sitting in general is not fantastic. That's why I have the standing desk with the motor. So I always kind of do like an hour and a half to 2 hours sitting and then an hour and a half to 2 hours standing. Go back and forth. Just all of their blockers per sip. So like part of the issue is that like cast down doesn't, I'm gonna keep this hand. It's got Leyline of the Void. Cast down doesn't kill all their threats is one of the big issues. I should try that, Trubo. That's a good suggestion. And yoga balls are not expensive, so it's low cost to try. Yeah, Price of Fame could be okay. I could see that being a reasonable card to play. All right, chat. I just want you to know, I want you to be aware that if we don't hit this white source on turn 2, it's your fault for not believing enough. So I'm gonna need you to make sure you believe so we get through this. So I took the Death Shadow there, even though I have a bunch of removal spells in my hand. And the reason for that is, from our side of the matchup, in a matchup like this, they're basically playing a protect the queen game. If we can kill every threat they put into play, they can't win the game. So we just want to make sure that we make them as threat light as possible. All right, if we hit a white source here, these Wall of Omens are going to make this Snapcaster really embarrassing. So hopefully we can do that. These Wall of Omens also draw a card when they come into play, so they will hopefully help us find more lands. Ding. Just good clean living right there, chat. I would love for you to lightning bolt my Wall of Omens. Please do. And gain 5, draw a card. This card's great. I think I'm fetch shocking here. Fat stubby D, eh? I think I'm leaving him that one. I think I'd rather this Wall of Omens live. Because, like, this is basically a removal spell that cantrips in the face of this Snapcaster Mage. Oh, I actually got a sneak peek at the next Modern Ban List update. No changes in all formats. No, I'm not giving you any reasons for them, because screw you. For those that haven't been paying attention to the last few Modern Ban List updates. Are you sure you're not a WotC employee? So I'm gonna path this because if this is the worst of my removal spells, then I'd rather this one get stubbed, because now when this dies, they don't get a land. I'm just gonna get my hand empty here. To be fair, I think there are almost certainly employees at Wizards of the Coast that probably like more open data than they have, but I would assume they're being hamstrung by management or other people above them. That's exactly what I'm saying, Scholar. You understand? Yeah. It's like people like Magic Online's a great example of like I'm not sure, I would be extremely surprised if the people who work on Magic Online show up to work every morning and go, you know what I'm gonna do today? I'm gonna make a giant spaghetti mess of this application. It's gonna be clunky and terrible. I would assume that most people who work on Magic Online would love if it was awesome, but just they've inherited so much technical debt that that's just not an option to them. They just don't have the resources to not be drowning. That's what I say when I walk into work. How'd you know? And like honestly, right? Like you know, people ask like when are they rewriting Magic Online? They already started. Like this is cheeky. Love it. I like the cut of your jib, opponent. It is cut in a pleasant direction. My Wall of Omens is so angry. It's so angry, chat. Despite all the rage, he is still just a wall in a cage. Yep. Just scan the card text in. Isn't that how programming works? Honestly, in a well-designed system, that's how coding a Magic rules engine would work. You would give the rules text of a card to the computer, and the computer would spit out the code to make that card work. And anytime the rules text of the card doesn't work by just inputting it into the computer, you don't manually program the card. You update the computer system so it understands the new text on that card. Hand coding every card individually is terrible. Yeah, that's good. And like, it still worked to add new cards, right? Like, when they add a new set with new mechanics, they need to code those mechanics into the computer. But that's far more efficient than every card in Magic Online being coded individually. Let's write some spaghetti. Mom spaghetti, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on the sweater already, but you keep on forgetting what you wrote down. The whole crowd roars so loud he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's hoping now. Everybody choking now. Snap back. Listen. Those are like the longest string of Eminem lyrics I can sing on stream without having to swear filter myself. There's a lot of naughty words in his stuff. Listen, I'm 27. I grew up with Eminem, okay? That's all I'm saying. Just finished a test and I could feel my GPA drop as I handed it in. This is our third deck. Is Moto just hemorrhaging memory at this point? 2.3 gigabytes of RAM. Should we kill it, chat? Should we click the end process button? Should we kill it with fire? Should we? Oh, we'll wait till after the match to kill it with fire. All right, that's good. Good. Oh, would you look at that? The match is over. Weird. All right. Weird. The match is over. That's so strange. Enjoy the sponsor page for half a second while I log into Magic Online. How do I find the MTG ban list update schedule? I actually have no idea. So, yeah, I'm just done playing this deck. I've started rejecting decks like this. I probably should have rejected this one. This is bad Mardu Pyromancer. If you want to brew in Modern, don't take an existing established deck and then add a bunch of bad cards to it. That's basically what this deck has done. This deck has taken an archetype that's reasonable and efficient, and it's just added a ton of clunk to it. Modern is not a format where you can play this many 4 and 5 mana cards. And honestly, this deck cut the card that could actually let us play this many 4 and 5 mana cards, which is Faithless Looting. Like, Faithless Looting not being in this deck is kind of absurd. Like, all the other details aside, like, no Faithless Looting in this deck is a huge mess. Like, not only is that card great with Lingering Souls, it's just like a busted card in general, but Faithless Looting is the type of card that can smooth out the draws where you have too many clunky things. So, past putting Faithless Looting in this deck, if you wanted to work on something like this, play 4 Path to Exiles, play 4 Leyline of the Voids, probably play another Damnation. So that would be my recommendation. Honestly, though, I would play Mardu Pyromancer, and I think playing like 2 or even 3 Nahiris in Mardu Pyromancer is fine. This card's very reasonable in Modern, and you don't even need to put an Emrakul in your deck for it to be good. All right, sweet. Awesome. We have a pretty reasonable deck up next. I'm excited. Who's ready to get people? You ready to get people? I've not played the full combo version of Thousand Year Storm.